is something in countless homes right now, something most people walk past every single day without a second thought, and it is quietly shaping the spiritual atmosphere of everyone who lives there. No, I'm not talking about a color on your wall. I'm not talking about feng shui or energy or some trendy paint shade that influencers tell you is cursed. I'm talking about something far more real, far more serious, and far more overlooked than any of that. I'm talking about the difference between a home that is truly blessed and a home that only feels like it should be because it looks nice, smells nice, and follows all the right design trends. Stay with me tonight, because by the end of this, you are going to understand something about your home, your family, and your spiritual life that very few people ever stop to consider. And I promise you, what I'm about to share is going to completely change how you think about the space you live in. Type "I'm listening" in the comments right now if you want to know what's actually happening in the unseen corners of your home. Let's get into it. And if this message starts to shift something in you tonight, and I believe it will, do me a favor and subscribe before we go further. What I'm about to share isn't something you'll want to hear once and forget. Hit that bell too, because there's more coming after this that builds directly on tonight's message. A few years ago, a woman came to a priest deeply anxious. She had read article after article, watched video after video about how the colors in her home were supposedly emitting frequencies, silently dragging her luck down, blocking her financial blessings, draining her marriage of passion. She had repainted her bedroom 3 times in 1 year. She had bought gold trinkets to place in her kitchen to activate wealth. She had hung a red painting in her bedroom because someone online told her it would reignite the spark with her husband, and yet nothing changed. If anything, she felt worse, more anxious, more fixated on her surroundings, more convinced that some invisible force outside her control was determining whether her life would go well or badly. The priest asked her one simple question that cut straight to the heart of the matter. When was the last time you asked God to bless this home instead of asking a color to do it for you? She sat in silence. She couldn't remember. Not once in all her searching for the right colors, the right objects, the right arrangement, had she thought to simply ask God, the actual source of every blessing that exists, to bless the space she lived in. That conversation changed everything for her. Not because she repainted again, but because she finally understood where real spiritual power comes from and where it does not comment below. This is making me think, if you're starting to sense where this is going, because here's the truth nobody selling you energy colors wants you to hear. A home is not blessed or cursed by pigment. It is blessed or cursed by the spiritual reality living within it. The prayers said there, the sins committed there, the presence of God invited in, or the presence of God quietly pushed out. Let me tell you about another situation, because I think it will help drive this home even further. A young couple, newly married, fell into the same trap from a different angle. They weren't anxious about luck. They were anxious about protection. They had read that certain colors could ward off negative energy and shield their home from misfortune. So they spent weeks researching, repainting, rearranging furniture according to charts and diagrams, convinced that getting the layout exactly right would keep harm away from their new life together. And yet the arguments between them only increased. The tension in their home didn't lessen, it grew. Why? Because they had spent all their energy managing paint and furniture placement, and none of it praying together, going to confession together, or asking God to be the actual protector of their home. They had built quite literally a beautifully arranged house with no spiritual foundation underneath it. It wasn't until they started ending each day with even 5 minutes of prayer together, thanking God, asking forgiveness from each other, asking His protection over their marriage, that the tension in their home actually began to lift. Not because the furniture moved, because they moved toward God together instead of toward a chart. Type, I see the same pattern. If you're noticing how both of these stories point to the exact same misplaced trust. I want to be careful here because I'm not saying beauty doesn't matter or that the colors you choose for your home are irrelevant to your mood and comfort. Of course, they matter on a natural human level. A cheerful room can lift your spirits. A dark, cluttered room can weigh on you. That's basic psychology, and there's nothing wrong with caring about how your home looks and feels. But that is not what's being sold in so much of this energy and frequency content flooding our feeds today. What's being sold is something else entirely. The idea that physical objects and colors possess an independent spiritual power of their own. That a gold spoon placed with intention in your kitchen can summon wealth. That a red vase can repair a marriage, that a particular shade of gray is, quote, an energy leak silently sabotaging your luck and happiness. Type, I've seen this content before, if you recognize exactly what I'm describing. Because this messaging is everywhere right now, dressed up as ancient wisdom, dressed up as spirituality, dressed up as harmless home decor advice. Here's why this matters far more than people realize. The moment we start believing that objects themselves, paint, crystals, colors, placements, hold power to bring us luck, wealth, love, or protection apart from God, we have stepped into something the church has warned about for 2,000 years. Superstition is not a quaint, outdated word. It names something very specific and very real, attributing to a creature, an object, a ritual, or a practice, a power that belongs to God alone. It is treating the created world as though it were itself divine, as though it could save you, bless you, protect you, or curse you, independent of the will of the one who actually holds all power in heaven and on earth. This is precisely why Scripture is so consistently firm on this point, from the first commandment all the way through to the closing pages of the New Testament. You shall have no other gods before him, not silver, not gold, not crystals, not colors, not frequencies. Nothing in creation is to be treated as though it possesses the power that belongs to God alone. Comment, I didn't realize this was superstition if this is reframing something you've casually believed without ever questioning it. I want to dwell on this a moment longer because I think it's easy to hear the word superstition and immediately picture something dramatic, black candles, occult symbols, something obviously sinister. But that's not usually how it enters a person's life. It enters through things that look completely innocent. A lucky object, a ritual phrase repeated for good fortune, a belief that the right arrangement of furniture will determine whether good things happen to you. None of these look dangerous. That's exactly why they're so effective at quietly reshaping where a person places their trust. The church has never taught that beauty, color, or thoughtful design are spiritually neutral or unimportant. Far from it. Sacred art, sacred architecture, the deliberate beauty of a church building, all of these matter immensely, precisely because they lift the soul toward God. The difference is not color versus no color. The difference is whether the object is understood as a sign pointing toward God's power or as a source of power in itself. A blessed image of the Sacred Heart and a wealth-activating gold spoon might sit 3 feet apart on the same shelf, and yet they represent two entirely opposite spiritual postures, one humbly receiving grace from its true source, the other quietly, perhaps unknowingly, asking a created object to do what only God can do. Here's what makes this so dangerous. It rarely announces itself. Nobody wakes up one day and decides, I am going to abandon God and start worshiping color frequencies instead. That's not how it happens. It happens slowly, subtly, one TikTok video at a time, one just try it can't hurt decision at a time, until without even realizing it, a person's sense of where blessing and protection actually come from has quietly shifted away from God and onto objects, rituals, and arrangements that have no power to give what they promise. I think about how many people today say affirmations like, my home is a magnet for miracles, speaking it into the universe, as though the universe itself were listening, as though the universe itself were a kind of impersonal God, capable of granting wishes if we just say the right words with the right feeling. But the universe did not create you. The universe does not love you. The universe cannot hear you. God created you. God loves you. God hears you. Every single prayer, every sigh, every quiet cry of your heart, because He is a person, not a force, and He has revealed Himself to us precisely so that we would stop searching blindly among created things for the blessing only He can give. Type, I want the real source, not a substitute. If you're starting to feel the weight of that distinction, this is the real danger lurking in so much of what passes for spirituality online today. Not a color on a wall, but a heart slowly being trained to look for power, protection, and blessing in the wrong place, in creation instead of the Creator. And I think part of why this content spreads so easily is because it feels spiritual without asking anything difficult of us. It doesn't ask us to examine our conscience. It doesn't ask us to forgive someone who hurt us. It doesn't ask us to go to confession, to fast, to kneel down in genuine humility before God. It simply asks us to buy a vase, repaint a wall, or speak an affirmation into the air. And in exchange, it promises blessing without any real conversion of heart. That is precisely what makes it so appealing, and precisely what makes it so spiritually hollow. Real holiness has always cost something. It has always required the will to bend toward God in humility. A counterfeit spirituality that asks nothing of your soul and everything of your wallet should always raise a question in your mind. Comment, this explains why it spread so fast, if that point landed for you. So let's talk about what genuinely matters, what actually invites blessing, peace, and protection into a home, because I promise you, it has nothing to do with gold spoons or red vases. The first and greatest source of blessing in any home is prayer. A home where the family prays together, even simply, even imperfectly, is a home where God's presence is actively invited in day after day. Grace before meals, a rosary said together in the evening, a simple Our Father whispered before bed. These are not decorative gestures. They are the literal opening of the door to let God dwell among you. The second is the use of true sacramentals, not crystals, not energy objects, but things the Church herself has blessed and entrusted to the faithful for exactly this purpose. Holy water sprinkled in the home, a blessed crucifix placed in a prominent place, a blessed Saint Benedict medal near the entrance, holy images of Our Lady, or the saints displayed not as decor, but as reminders of the unseen reality surrounding your daily life. These objects carry real spiritual significance, not because the object itself has some independent magic, but because the Church, by her authority from Christ, has blessed them, and because they direct your heart toward God rather than away from Him. Comment, I want to do this in my own home, if you're feeling that pull right now to bring something real into your space. The third, and one many Catholics have forgotten entirely, is having your home formally blessed by a priest. This is not some outdated optional extra. It is a beautiful ancient practice, inviting a priest to walk through your home, room by room, asking God's protection and peace over every space where your family eats, sleeps, works, and rests. If you have never done this, I want you to seriously consider it. Not because your home is cursed without it, but because there is something profoundly meaningful about consecrating the space where your family's life unfolds to God, explicitly and intentionally. The fourth is simply living virtuously within the home, because no amount of blessed objects or prayers replaces the actual moral and spiritual life lived inside those walls. A home filled with anger, bitterness, lust, or constant sin will not be made peaceful by a crucifix on the wall if the family living beneath it refuses to seek conversion and grace. The sacramentals support and strengthen a life of grace. They are not substitutes for it. Type, this makes so much more sense if this is clarifying something that energy color content never could. I also want to address something many people quietly wonder. Does this mean none of this matters, that I shouldn't even care what my home looks or feels like? Not at all. God himself is the author of beauty. He filled creation with color, light, and order, and he delights when we cultivate beauty in the spaces we live in. The issue has never been beauty itself. The issue is what we believe beauty can do for us apart from him. Decorate your home thoughtfully. Choose colors that bring you peace and joy. There is nothing wrong with any of that. Just don't ask your wallpaper to do the work that belongs to prayer. Comment, I needed to hear that balance. If you were worried this message meant throwing out your sense of style altogether, it doesn't. Now, I don't want to throw out the idea of color symbolism entirely, because the church herself uses color symbolically and beautifully so, just not in the way the energy frequency crowd uses it. Think about the liturgical colors used throughout the church year. White is worn for the great feasts of joy, Christmas, Easter, the feasts of Our Lady, symbolizing purity, glory, and the light of the resurrection. Red is worn on Pentecost and on the feasts of the martyrs, symbolizing the fire of the Holy Spirit and the blood poured out in love and sacrifice. Green, worn through the long weeks of ordinary time, symbolizes hope and the slow, patient growth of the soul in virtue. Purple is worn during Advent and Lent, symbolizing penance, preparation, and humility before God. Gold, used on the most solemn occasions, symbolizes the majesty and eternity of God himself. Do you see the difference? These colors are not believed to generate spiritual power on their own, as though wearing gold vestments magically summons divine majesty into the room. They are symbols, visual languages, pointing the heart and mind towards spiritual realities that are real, true, and already established by God. They draw our attention toward him. They do not replace him, manipulate him, or operate independently of him. So yes, if you want to thoughtfully bring colors into your home that remind you of hope, of purity, of sacrifice, of God's majesty, there is nothing wrong with that at all. Let a deep red remind you of the Sacred Heart poured out in love. Let white remind you of the purity you're called to. Let green remind you of patient growth in virtue. But know clearly in your own heart that the color itself is not doing anything. It is a reminder, not a mechanism, a symbol, not a spell. This is, in the end, the heart of the whole distinction I want you to walk away with tonight. A symbol serves the truth by pointing beyond itself, asking nothing of you but your attention and your faith. A superstition serves itself asking you to place your trust in the object, the arrangement, the ritual, as though it carried power on its own. One leads you toward God. The other quietly, subtly leads you away from him while still using his name, his traditions, and even sometimes his own creation's beauty as a disguise. Comment, I understand the difference now if this distinction between symbol and superstition is landing clearly for you. If I had to point to one color that genuinely drains a home of its spiritual life, it isn't found on a paint swatch at all. It's the gray, colorless indifference of a household where God is never mentioned, never thanked, never asked for help, where the only spiritual practices left are borrowed from wherever the algorithm last pointed, untethered from any real relationship with the living God. That is the true energy leak, not a wall color. A heart that has quietly stopped looking toward heaven. A home can have the most beautifully curated, color-balanced, feng shui-approved interior in the world and still be spiritually starving, because no amount of intentional gold spoons or calming blue walls can substitute for a family that actually kneels down together and prays. And conversely, a home with mismatched furniture, peeling paint, and not a single energetically optimized object in sight can be radiant with peace, because Christ is genuinely present there, invited, welcomed, and loved by the people who live within its walls. Type that hit different if that distinction just reframed everything for you. I have walked into homes that were, by every design magazine standard, Absolutely stunning, perfectly coordinated, professionally staged, not a single object out of place, and felt a strange emptiness in the air. And I have walked into small, modest, even cluttered homes where the moment you stepped through the door, you could feel something different, warmth, peace, a kind of quiet joy that had nothing to do with the furniture. That difference is not imagined, it is real. It is the difference between a house and a home that has been genuinely consecrated in ordinary daily ways to God. Let me give you a few warning signs that energy thinking may have quietly crept into your own spiritual life, even if you'd never call it that. Do you find yourself more anxious about whether an object is lucky or unlucky than about whether you prayed today? Do you feel a flicker of dread about a color or a number more than you feel conviction about an unconfessed sin? Do you reach for an affirmation before you reach for a prayer? None of these make you a bad person. These messages are everywhere, and they are designed to feel harmless. But if you recognize yourself in even one of these questions, that is exactly the moment to gently, honestly, redirect your trust back to where it belongs. Comment, I recognized myself in one of those. If one of those questions hit close to home, there's no shame in it, only an invitation to turn back toward God. So let's make this concrete. Here's what I'd invite you to actually do starting this week. First, consider reaching out to your parish priest about having your home blessed. It costs you nothing but the asking, and it is a beautiful, ancient act of faith. Second, place something genuinely sacred somewhere visible in your home. A crucifix in the main living space, a holy image near the entrance, a small dish of holy water by the front door for family members to bless themselves as they come and go. Third, establish even one small daily moment of shared prayer in your household. It doesn't need to be long or elaborate. A single decade of the rosary, a grace before dinner said slowly, attentively, together, a good night blessing spoken over your children before they sleep. Fourth, examine your own heart for any quiet superstitions that may have crept in, habits, objects, or beliefs you've picked up that quietly assume some created thing holds power that belongs to God alone. You don't need to throw out your favorite throw pillow because of its color. You simply need to make sure your heart isn't secretly placing its hope in pillows, paint, or placement instead of in God. Comment, I'm going to start with this, and tell me which one you're going to try first. I genuinely want to see your answers. Fifth, if you have any objects in your home that you've kept specifically because you believe they bring you luck, protection, or wealth, apart from God, crystals, charms, anything acquired through divination or New Age practice, prayerfully consider removing them. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. A home should not have one foot in trust in God and another foot in trust in superstition. Sixth, teach your children, if you have them, the difference between symbol and superstition early. Let them see you bless yourself with holy water and understand why, not because the water itself is magic, but because it is a sign of the grace of their baptism, a reminder of God's real presence and protection. Children absorb the spiritual posture of their household long before they can articulate any of this in words. So the example you live matters more than any explanation you could give. Type, I'll teach my kids this too. If you have little ones at home and this point matters to you, here is what I want you to carry with you after this message ends. Your home was never meant to be a vending machine for luck, dispensing prosperity and love in exchange for the correct combination of colors and objects. Your home was meant to be a domestic church, a small living outpost of the kingdom of God, where your family learns to pray, to forgive, to love sacrificially, and to turn toward heaven together, day after ordinary day. No color frequency will ever do that for you. No gold spoon, no red vase, no perfectly chosen shade of blue will ever substitute for a family that kneels down together and says, Lord, bless this home and bless every person who lives within it. I think of all the people who will watch this tonight, standing in their own living rooms, perhaps looking around at the walls they've so carefully chosen, wondering whether any of it has actually brought them the peace they were promised. I want you to know gently, without any condemnation, that the peace you have been searching for in paint cans and placement charts has been available to you the entire time, freely, abundantly, through prayer. You were never required to decode the universe's hidden frequencies. You were simply invited to kneel down and speak honestly to the God who already knows your heart, already loves you completely, and already wants to fill your home with a peace no color could ever manufacture. This is the quiet tragedy of so much of what passes for spirituality today. It sends people searching further and further outward toward objects, charts, and rituals, when the entire time the door to real peace was standing open just a few feet inward, in the silence of prayer, in the humility of confession, in the simple act of inviting Christ to be the actual Lord of your household rather than a decorative afterthought. If tonight's message stirred something in you, if you're realizing that what your home truly needs isn't a new paint color, but a renewed life of prayer, I want to hear about it. Comment below and tell me one thing you're going to change starting this week, not for the algorithm, for your own soul and for the people you share your home with. And if this message reached you tonight, please like this video, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and share it with someone you know who needs to hear that their blessing was never hiding in a paint can. It's been waiting for them in prayer all along. If you made it all the way to this final word, comment, "Bless this home" below. Let that be your small act of faith tonight, a declaration not to the universe, but to the God who actually hears you, that you are choosing Him as the true source of peace in your home from this moment forward. May God bless your home, your family, and every threshold you cross tonight and every night after. God bless you.